Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is going to be my August wrap-up and stats. July stats. We are currently only 6 days into August. So first we'll go through my stats for the month of July and then all of the books that I read in the second half of the month. I will link my mid-month wrap-up in the iCard on one of the corners. I don't know which side it is, as well as the description. So let's just jump straight into the stats, which I'll pop up over here, as well as any book covers for books that I do not own. The covers will pop up on this side. And if I look down here, it's because I have all of the stats and all of the books with all the ratings on my laptop down here, so that is where I'm looking. But in July, I read 17 books, which compared to what I've read in the first few months is the lowest month, the lowest amount of books that I've read so far this year, but is kind of more average to what I read last year. So I think I'm slowly going down with the amount of books that I'm reading each month, which I'm okay with. I read 6,860 pages, so it was kind of a lot of big books, so kind of makes sense that I read less. And my average star rating was a 4.1, so fairly good. I listened to 2 audiobooks. I read 9 ebooks. I read 2 mixed books, which basically means that I read it in multiple formats. For example, an audiobook and reading along with the physical book. And I read 4 physical. 5 were adult, 4 were new adult, 1 was middle grade, and 7 was YA. And for the genres were 3 contemporaries, 2 dystopian, 4 fantasy, 1 paranormal, and 7 romances. So romance was my most read genre. And jumping just straight in, I read Forever Theirs by Katie Robert. And this is the second book in the Twisted Heart series by Katie Robert, where essentially in the first book we follow Meg, who meets Theo and Galen at a bar, and they end up hooking up for the night, and then we are a few months later where she runs into them again, and they kind of rekindle that romance that they had in the first book. And it's like, the first book is almost like a prequel to the second and third book in the series, but it's technically book 1, and this is book 2. And I gave this 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I liked the character dynamics. It is a MMF, erotic romance. There's a lot of smut. And this was kind of like an easy read because it was 250 pages, so it wasn't that long, and was kind of just easy to read, and I enjoyed it. And I will probably be reading the 3rd book in this series maybe next month, maybe this month, who knows. The next book I read is Kill Switch by Penelope Douglas. This is the 3rd book in the Devil's Night series, which are a series of dark contemporary romances that surround these group of guys and in high school they did all these crazy things, and now they're adults and kind of dealing with the repercussions, but also they are all very wealthy, so they don't really have to. And so basically in the 3rd book, Kill Switch, here we are following Damon and Winter, and we are seeing them in various points of time. So we're seeing the present day where Damon is married to Winter's sister for reasons, and then we were also following them 7 years in the past when things happen. I can't say what things because then it kind of spoils things. And then 5 years in the past when things are also happening that I also can't say because spoilers. And one thing that's interesting about this book is Winter is blind. She went blind when she was 8 years old, so the way that her point of view is there's that constant hesitation of, I don't know what's going on unless somebody tells me. And you as the reader, it's weird, as the reader, we're reading these on pages, reading it on the page, and we can imagine it, what's going on, or how characters look, or things like that, and she can't. And so it's very interesting to read. Reading a protagonist that doesn't have that kind of outlook on life, they can't literally see, was actually really good. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. Favorite book in the series so far. I probably think it's my 2nd favorite Penelope Douglas book. And yeah, I will stop gushing about this because I could probably spend a good 5 more minutes just gushing about it. Then I read A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabatier. This I listened to the audiobook and read physically, hence the mixed format basically. And this is the fourth and final book in the An Ember in the Ashes quartet. I'm not really going to explain the first book because it's so different, but this I gave 3 stars. I was heavily disappointed in this. Each book in the series kept on going downhill for me personally. The first book is my favorite. The only reason I continued with the series is because I love our main characters of Laia, Elias, and Helene. Like, I love them so much, and that's pretty much the only reason why I was reading this book, is because of them and to see how their story wrapped up. And I am still salty that 2 characters died. The way that the villains were dealt with weren't amazing. Like, the one I was like, okay, yeah. The other one I was like, I don't know what's going on. There was just a lot of things that I wasn't understanding, and overall I just wasn't enjoying this, so 3 stars. But the next book was A Worthy Opponent by Katie Robert. I just realized I read 2 Katie Robert books this month. Whoopsies. But this is the 3rd book in the Wicked Villains series, where they are a series of basically smutty Disney retellings of like Disney villains. So this is Hook and Tink, and that's pretty much all I'm going to explain. That's all I knew going in. I gave this 3.5 stars because I liked the characters, I liked the dynamic, but it just didn't blow me away. It was just a fun read, kind of just something to just read and not have to think, and just, I don't know. It was also continuing a series, so that's a good thing. The next book is The Lightningstruck Heart by T.J. Klune. This is the first book in the Tales of Verania series, where essentially we follow Sam, who is a wizard apprentice who, when the Crown Prince Justin gets kidnapped by a dragon, Sam and his friends have to go find him. And this is the funniest book I've ever read. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was pitched to me basically as like Shrek erotica, and at first I was like, I'm sorry, fucking what now? And now I see it. This is like an adult funny fantasy. There's a lot of innuendos and not safe for work sentences that come out of these characters' mouths. And it's a wild ride. I'm reading this for the Clune Along that is hosted by the wonderful Clint over at Reads Reader. I will leave his channel linked below, as I'm going to be part of the live shows for this series. And let's just say these are going to be interesting because, again, it's just so hilarious, so wild. And I'm very excited to see where things continue, because I almost am like, everything wrapped up fairly nicely, so what's gonna happen? Because there's like 5 books in the series, so I don't know. Then I read Destroy Me by Tahara Mafi. This is the 1.5 novella for the Shatter Me series. I actually have my copy of Shatter Me has Destroy Me in it, but that's what the cover looks like. This is a YA dystopian where we follow Juliet, who her touch is lethal, and basically she ends up imprisoned, and then the government basically wants her to use her abilities, and Destroy Me follows basically like the end of the book, like the end of Shatter Me in a different point of view, the point of view of Warner, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I love getting to see his point of view and in his head, because I honestly love him as a character so much. I actually just finished reading book 2 yesterday, so 2 days ago as I'm posting this, because I'm filming this on the 5th. I had to think there what day it was, and I just really enjoyed this. It was a fun read. It was a reread. I read it in one day, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Don't really have anything else to say. I also read Crush by Tracy Wolff, which this I listened to the audiobook of, and this is the 2nd book in the Crave series, where in the first book, Crave, we follow Grace, who ends up having to go to this boarding school in Alaska that is like ran by her uncle, and little does Grace know that there are paranormal creatures that go to this school, and Grace learns that other things happen. The 2nd book I gave 5 stars. I absolutely loved. Crush is like, Honestly, I loved it a lot because it's first of all, it's a long book, so you get into all the nitty-gritty details of everything, characters' emotions, everything that's going on. And this had like a fun tournament aspect that I did not expect at all. And I overall loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I don't really have any other thoughts. I literally am 2 chapters into Covet right now, and I'm gonna be listening to that over this weekend. And I'm really excited because book 2, which is Crush, left off on a huge cliffhanger, so now I'm like, more info please. Editing me again, realizing I explained Twisted Love horribly when I was filming. But basically in Twisted Love we follow Alex and Ava, and when Ava's brother Josh has to leave the country for a year for his job, he ends up asking Alex, like, hey, can you keep an eye out on my sister, make sure she's okay? And in doing so, Alex and Ava become closer and a relationship forms. And this book I gave 3.5 stars because while it was good, nothing really blowed me away. It did have a trope that I like, which is brother's best friend, and kind of forced proximity because they live next door to each other, but nothing blew me away. I didn't really like the ending, so yeah, just 3.5 stars. And the final book I read this month is The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Percy Jackson series, and in The Lightning Thief we follow Percy Jackson, he finds out that he is a half-blood, and half-bloods are basically the offspring of a god and a human, and then he ends up having to go to Camp Half-Blood, which is a summer camp, and 4 half-bloods, and he ends up getting sent on a quest to find Zeus's missing lightning. And this is the first book for the Riordan Along. I am co-hosting the Riordan Along with Morgan from Morgan's Bookshelves. I'll leave their channel linked below, as well as the announcement video talking about this read-along. But I gave this 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. Actually, our live show for this book will be either right before this video is uploaded, or right after. So I'll also link that live show down below, so you can watch it back, because I don't know what time this video will be uploaded. I know that if this is uploaded before, the live show will be at 3 p.m. MST on my channel. So yeah, but that's what I've read this month in July. I really hope that I have a good reading month in August, and so I hope you enjoyed this video talking about some of the books that I read this month. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what is one book that you read in July, or if you've heard of any of these books, or just leave something bookish in the comments below, and bye!